Replacing George this week is my chief financial officer, Alan Weisselberg. And you think George is tough? Wait till you see Alan.
Oh, wait till you see Alan. It's not often that I will agree with Donald Trump, but he must be right about his longtime former Trump Organization CFO, Alan Weisselberg, because his apprentice pal is heading back to Rikers Island for a second time in connection with his dealings with Trump. Today, Weisselberg was sentenced to 5 months in jail after pleading guilty to 2 counts of perjury for lying during both his deposition and his testimony in Trump's New York civil fraud trial. He already served 3 months last year after pleading guilty to tax fraud charges in a scheme involving the Trump Organization. This comes just 5 days before Trump heads to another New York court for the start of his hush money election interference trial, one in which Weisselberg helped arrange the reimbursement to Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, who advanced the $130,000 to adult film star Stormy Daniels. That money was to keep her quiet before the 2016 election because of the affair that she and Trump allegedly had. Got all that? And for the third time this week, an appellate court judge has denied Trump's last-ditch efforts to delay that trial. Today's arguments from Trump's lawyers at the emergency hearing included Judge Juan Marchand's failure to recuse himself and the judge's ruling that presidential immunity could not be used to deny certain evidence Trump claims are official acts. The New York Times notes legal experts strained to recall any other defendant filing 3 emergency appeals in 3 days. Most called it unprecedented. One called it silliness. And at this rate, with 5 days to go before jury selection and a smattering of other legal issues still unresolved, Mr. Trump might not be done. Joining me now is Lisa Rubin, MSNBC legal correspondent. I mean, it is so clear, Lisa, that Donald Trump is terrified for this trial to begin. He will do anything. Will any of these last-ditch appeals stop this trial from happening on Monday?
No, but they will create a lot of havoc and chaos in the intervening period of time. I heard somebody say today something like, well, we've got Thursday and Friday to go and then Monday. And I didn't say anything, but I was thinking to myself, you forgot Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Because lawyers don't stop and filings don't stop.
Yeah.
You can't force a court, obviously, to respond.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean in the next several days, including the weekend, including late at night or the middle of the night, we won't see further efforts by this team.
The question, I guess, is all of these legal filings that Donald Trump is doing, even if they don't stop the case from starting, are these issues he could use in an appeal?
Sure.
Okay.
And ordinarily, they would be issues that you would see in an appeal post-conviction.
After, yeah.
Correct. And so the reason that he's asking for a stay right now, and he's premising it on these very special kinds of appeals, is because none of these issues are the kinds of issues that would lend themselves to what we call an interlocutory or mid-case appeal.
Yeah.
They're all the sorts of issues that you got to wait until the end to get your hearing on.
I can't imagine what the presidential act would be of writing your lawyer a reimbursement check because he paid off your porn star person that he had an affair with. But I won't try to make my mind go there. Maria Bartiromo has a new solution for Donald Trump. Here it is.
Oh, no.
Why hasn't she fired this guy? She could easily do that. And he's, going after innocent citizens or law-abiding citizens in New York instead of protecting us.
Yeah.
And this is
right.
This malicious prosecution is what we face every day.
And that's what the NYPD keeps telling us about recidivism. Why, Governor Kathy Hochul, are you allowing recidivism? Why are you not firing Alvin Bragg for allowing criminals to keep doing it over and over again? We would like an answer. I'll call your office today, Kathy Hochul. I'd love an answer.
Okay. Maria Bartiromo is going to call the governor and demand that she fire the attorney general. Fire the AG. Sorry,
Yeah, the Manhattan District Attorney is a duly elected official.
Yeah.
He actually faced many opponents in a Democratic primary when he was first running for election. I'd like to think that there are many New Yorkers who would think that calling Kathy Hochul and calling for Alvin Bragg's removal would itself be election interference, as we are talking about a case that really is about election interference and not about a porn star and her alleged affair with a former president.
It's just okay. Let's go to Florida because there's just so much we have to all keep it in mind. And yes, sorry about that. I meant AG. I meant Alvin Bragg. Aileen Cannon, she has a ruling now giving Trump until May 9th to disclose the specific classified documents that he wants to use at his classified documents trial. it does just feel like she's just indulging whatever small, minor thing he brings up in order to give him more time. Like, it's just so clear now.
Well, I'm going to push back a little bit on that because yesterday we saw a ruling from Aileen Cannon that went the way that the special counsel's office wanted.
Okay.
They had asked her to reconsider a prior order in her case that would have resulted in the revelation of nearly 24 witness names. And they pushed back hard and they said, will you reconsider this? And while she did so begrudgingly and with some sharp language, ultimately she agreed with the special counsel's office. It's too risky, particularly given this political atmosphere, the necessity of witness safety, and needing to protect them against witness interference and tampering to let people see their names.
Maybe I'm just cynical. Don't you think maybe she did that because she was afraid that if she said no, they'd go to the 11th Circuit? She just doesn't want to give this case up. To me, my horrible theory about her is that she wants to hang on to the case, not let the 11th Circuit take it from her, so she can dismiss it once it comes to her case, once the trial has actually begun.
I can understand why people are skeptical about Judge Cannon. And I'd also like to think, as a person who's believed in the rule of law and federal courts my whole career, that federal judges, no matter what their initial inclinations, no matter how they came to a particular president's attention, that they're better than that.
Even if they're trying to essentially audition for the Supreme Court, because Alito and Thomas will retire if Donald Trump becomes president, the bribe is implied, as Lawrence O'Donnell has said.
You know, I don't see Aileen Cannon as a credible candidate for a Supreme Court seat to begin with.
Under Trump?
Well, I don't see... Even Trump, I think, would look for candidates to the Supreme Court that have substantial appellate experience. Now, she was an appellate lawyer before she became a federal district court judge. But if you're looking for somebody who Trump wants to nominate to the Supreme Court, I would challenge people to look first at Fifth Circuit Judge Jim Ho, who I think is likely to be Trump's first nominee. They should be a lot more scared, depending on their policy perspective, about a Jim Ho than they should be about an Aileen Cannon.
And Jim Ho, of course, because he's weighed in on the subject of whether or not women should be able to access mifepristone and that kind of thing.
And he's weighed in about transgender care and whether, for example, an inmate in a prison can go by their can be assigned to a prison of their chosen gender, things like that. He has taken positions again and again that I think many Americans would find absolutely terrifying. And he's an experienced appellate jurist who has served as Solicitor General of Texas. He's now a Fifth Circuit judge, obviously, and a former Thomas clerk.
You know, we say scaring is caring on this show. And you're lovely, but you've scared the hell out of me. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. That means you care. Lisa Rubin, thank you very much.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.